I am Zach, and this video is a response to some comments that I had from viewers wanting to see how I swapped out the thumbstick on my Retroflag controller. While the Retroflag controller is my go-to controller, that wasn't always the case. So in this video, I'm going to open up my controller and show you how I replaced that thumbstick. Alright, so I've had a lot of requests on how to swap out this right thumbstick. I think people just kind of want to see that before attempting it themselves. So what we're going to do, first, we're going to flip this over and take a look at how many screws we have here to take out. We're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws on the back. And you're going to see those are pretty recessed in there. We're going to need a pretty long screwdriver to get in there, so make sure you have that. Also important is that on the bottom, we have 2 tiny screws that are going to be above the USB-C port. You got to be careful of those. They're really tiny, but we got to remove those to get this connector out of here. And so this is about the only really tricky part besides prying out the seams that are on the side here. All right, let's take a look at what we're going to need. All right, let's get our tools. We're going to need some splungers, some prying tools to get that open, something nice and soft. We don't want to damage the case. To reach some of these screws, you're going to need a long Phillips head screwdriver. Flip this over and let's get started here. Let's turn that over. We're going to let those fall out. We're going to do the other side here. We need a very small screwdriver head there. Go ahead and put that in. Right now we're just taking out these tiny screws. So there's one. And there's 2. Now let's keep those together. Now that the screws are out, let's use some prying tools here to pop the tabs on the plastic inside the case. Again, we're kind of doing this backwards. I've already done the fix, but we'll show you how easy it is. Right there, we're just going to push that in and pop it. Just go around the side, pop up those tabs. All right, so that pops up fairly easy. And you got to be careful, because if you see, there is a ribbon cable that's in here. So you want to be careful with these controllers. We're going to come back around here. Let's get this popped open. So now we've got that popped. We're going to continue down this seam here. So if you can see there, we're getting a little bit of separation. We're going to take our tool, put it in between, and just kind of open that up. Try to force it too hard. It might take a little bit of pressure, but there you go. A little bit of a pop there. And now we should have that separated. Now you can see the trick is right here at the bottom. You gotta see that USB-C port. Make sure that comes out and that gets cleared. Flip that over. Should be able to remove that entire panel. Nothing on there. And we have the inside of our controller. There are a few ribbon cables back here. So this is going to be for this stick here. You're going to come in and you're just going to pop that ribbon cable up there. And we also have the rumble power. So let's go ahead and pull the rumble power out. That's good. And we're going to disconnect the ribbon cable up here at the top. It's in here. It's a little hard to see. To do that, I'm just going to apply pressure on both sides here until we can pop that out. And there it goes. Slides right out. Pop those edges there. And just lift that out. Now, let's set this up. And we have our board. On here, we've got 1 screw. So we're going to take that. Just lift that straight up. Some of your buttons might fall out. You can see they're only going to fit one way. If this B falls out, you don't really have to worry. There are grooves in the holes that only allow that B to slide in a certain way. And then this is notched in such a way that it really only fits up here. We really don't need to replace anything in here, so we're going to set that to the side. Now, what I'm going to do is take this off. I'm going to show you. we'll pop that off. So all that we're doing is going to be replacing this cap, which has already been done on this, but let's look at what originally was in there. So this is what was normally in there. So if we take that apart, pull that out, this is what you're going to be looking at, is this little thumbstick. And you just need to grab that, pop that off. It's going to come right off. You can see the type of groove that's in there. Now for me, I ordered some Pro Controller caps, and yes, those will fit, right? So the problem I ran into with this is that it just sat a little too high compared to what the original did. So this gives you an idea of what we were originally talking about. And it's nice because your thumb kind of clears this little C pad. But I just didn't like this for first person. What happens when I put on the Pro Controller, right? And we're going to just hold that in place there and flip it. Now you can see like it's much taller. Pushing the B button, my thumb was constantly rubbing into this, if not bumping it. It was just too tall, pretty uncomfortable. Again, being close to the B button is why I think you really got to be careful about the stick that you're going to use, that it doesn't sit too high. I was not happy with that, so I started looking around at some old controllers I had. And I came across this one, this Steel Series. It was for the iOS, and it's not really needed anymore. We have, Bluetooth controls now, and we can use the Pro Controller. Xbox controllers are on iOS. So, took this one, took it apart. I noticed that the thumbsticks do sit a little bit lower than the Pro Controller, ever so slightly. If you can see, it's a little shorter. So to show that, again, let's put this one back on. Back into our controller. Let's hold that, flip it, and now you can see while I'm hitting the B button, my thumb is not hitting this stick. It's still fairly close. It's still, a lot bigger than this original design. I don't find that I'm really hitting this stick much when I'm using the buttons. So I wouldn't really recommend getting a Pro Controller cap for these. Doesn't mean you kind of have to look around and try different sizes. But again, if this isn't the right size, it'll feel good. Put it back in the box and send it back. We got great returns. Use that return to find the proper joystick. Now that we've found the one that we want, we've got it pushed down in there. Everything feels good. We're going to come back over, sure our buttons are all lined up, that our rubber membrane is down. We're going to grab the last few buttons that fell out. Let's go ahead and put this back. Again, we had one screw. It was on the back here. There we go. All screwed back in. Let's go ahead and place back over top of our controller. Again, when you're placing this, make sure it's getting in there nice and flush. Now we need to reconnect all the ribbon cable. Just got to reverse the process. Just be very careful not to fold or cut your ribbon cables. It should just fit in there nice and snug. Slip up underneath. Just push it down on there. Right? Tweezers can help. You want to be careful of these little wires that you don't pull them out. So I'm just going to use the tweezers to push on the sides after we get it lined up. Right? Nice and gentle. Don't need to force anything. Make sure that that gate is open. Grab that ribbon cable, slide it in there, then just push down on the sides. That's going to lock it in. Again, nice to have tweezers, just kind of push on the edges there, make sure that's nice and locked in. Okay, give it a little tug, make sure it's in. Now, I am thinking, do I want to swap out the other joystick while I'm in here? I kind of like this one over here. It's very comfortable. But if you wanted to swap that out, same process, but you're going to have two ribbon cables on this side. I was going to say, I was going to open this up, but on mine particularly, I'm having a lot of issues getting it to separate out of here, and I don't want to apply any more force than I really need to. Again, I like the left thumbstick. It might be a different design than the other, but originally both thumbsticks weren't the same anyway. So I don't know. I wouldn't recommend trying to replace the other one if you run into any kind of resistance like I was. Let me know down in the comments if any of you have performed this on yours and swapped out both. A few had issues on the left side thumbstick. And before you put all this back together, go ahead and grab your switch. You know, be a little careful. It's going to be a little not as tight down here, so you're going to have to support this USB-C port down here. Make sure that snaps in. Boot it up. Let's go over to our test now that we have it hooked up. Alright, we look good. So when I want to test the rumble to make sure it's up and connected, I'm going to select one of my pinball games. They really have a tendency to kick up the vibration. Yep, I can feel them. There they are. So our rumbles are working. Alright, let's go ahead and disconnect our switch again. Just going to use my little plunger there to separate it. I don't want to put a lot of pressure since this is not in the case yet. Now putting this back in, this is where we want to be careful with the C port down there. Make sure that gets in there nice and snug. Then we're going to line everything back up and kind of give it a good squeeze together. It should snap together. You know, be careful along this edge here. The first time I did this, I didn't push this ledge all the way down, and it was very tight getting the switch in here. And it was very hard to see that this lip was not pushed back. So you want to make sure there's a little bit of purple there coming through, and just kind of give that a going over. Now, just got to put all the screws back in. I don't like using automated screwdrivers. I like using a manual one. I want to feel the torque. I want to feel how much pressure is being put on the screw. Especially with plastic, you really don't want to over tighten them. You're going to strip out the housing that's in there, and that's plastic too. So, you know, again, I wouldn't open up things repeatedly when they have these metal screws going into plastic receptacles. Every time you're putting those in and tightening it up, you're wearing away the receptor side. But again, you know, these aren't made to be opened up repeatedly. All right. All right, we got our rumble. I can feel that. All of our little buttons. Everything's working. You can say goodbye to this. So thanks for requesting this video about how to open up your Retroflag controller and add a new thumbstick to it. If you have any questions or other things you'd like to add, leave those down in the comments. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.